Avaptatatpadam.
Asattva Vaikuntam Avapya Tattvatam.
So Ya means one who, and Kshatrabandhu means a Kshatriya, but not a Kshatriya like Brahmabandhu we hear about sometimes. So Kshatriya Bandhu. Bhumi, we know that means the earth, and Tasya refers to Dhruva. Adirudham, the exalted position. Anu means after or to follow. Aru Rukshet, can aspire to attain, be even. Varsha, Ubhaya, after many years. Satpansha Varsha, 5 or 6 years old. Yet which, Ahobi Alpai, after a few days. Prasadya, after pleasing Vaikuntham, the Lord. Abhapa, obtained, and Yatpadam, his abode. Dhruva Maharaj attained an exalted position at the age of 5 or 6 years, after undergoing austerities for 6 months. Also, a great Kshatriya cannot achieve, alas, a great Kshatriya cannot achieve such a position even after going austerities for many, many years. Dhruva Maharaj is described here as Chatra Bandhu, which indicates that he was not fully trained as a Kshatriya because he was only 5 years old. He was not a mature Kshatriya. A Kshatriya or Brahmin has to take training. A boy born in the family of a Brahmin is not immediately a Brahmin. He has to take up the training and the purificatory process. The great sage Narada Muni was very proud of having a devotee disciple like Dhruva Maharaj. He had many other disciples, but he was very pleased with Dhruva Maharaj because in one lifetime, by dint of his severe penances and austerities, he had achieved Vaikuntha, which was never achieved by any other king's sons or Rajarshi throughout the whole universe. Who are some other of Narada Muni's disciples? Vyasadeva.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah. The snake?
Snake?
Yeah, in the past time where everyone in the village was afraid of him, so Narada told him, don't, just lift your head, just don't fight. So we had so many different species. There is the instance of the great king Parvata, who was also a great devotee, but he attained Vaikuntha in 3 lives. In the first life, although he executed austerities in the forest, he became a victim of too much affection for small deer. And in his next life, he had to take birth as a deer. Although he had a deer's body, he remembered his spiritual position, but he still had to wait until the next life for perfection. In the next life, he took birth as Jadavardhana. Of course, in that life, he was completely free from all material entanglement, and he attained perfection and was elevated to Vaikuntha Loka. The lesson from the life of Dhruva Maharaj is that if one likes, one can attain Vaikuntha Loka in one life, without waiting for many other lives. That's an important sentence. Even though Prabhupada said earlier in the purport how difficult it was, he says the lesson from the life of Dhruva Maharaj is that if one likes, which means if we have a strong desire, one can attain Vaikuntha Loka in one life without waiting for many other lives. My Maharaj, Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, used to say that every one of his disciples could attain Vaikuntha in this life without waiting for another life to execute devotional service. And here's the key. One simply has to become serious and sincere as Dhruva Maharaj. Then it is quite possible to attain Vaikuntha Loka and go back home, back to Godhead in one life. So, Om Jnana Tanandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chaturmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Mancha Kalpatarulyascha Vivasmiderecha Vikanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Namo Namo.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So these are three words that Prabhupada repeated again and again and again. Serious and sincere. Okay? So here's a few quotes. If we are serious and sincere devotees, the Lord will give us intelligence to offer prayers properly. That's from the fourth canto. And a class in New Vrindavan. So samadhi is not very extraordinary thing. One has to become simply serious and sincere to Krishna. Then he is in samadhi. Another one, 1971 in Gorakhpur. So where is the difficulty to understand the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness? It is very simple. Everything is there. We have to understand. And we have to be serious, very serious and sincere. And one more. We have to become transcendental to the three modes of material nature. That is not very difficult. Simply one has to become very serious and sincere. That's all. So, serious doesn't necessarily mean you have to be like this whole time. You know, the devotee is also joyful. But serious, vyavasayat mikamutir ekena. You know, it's single-pointed determination. Krishna, what is that verse? Sarva kama kritava, you know that verse? That one has to have that firm faith that simply by bhakti I can attain perfection. Yeah, Prabhupada quote about faith. So serious. I think we kind of know when we're being serious in our pursuit of bhakti. You know, we take our sadhana seriously, and then sincere. I think we spoke about this before, but there's Chesta Rupa and Bhava Rupa. Right? Chesta Rupa is the activities of bhakti, but Bhava Rupa is the mood of bhakti. So sincere, ultimately sincere just means I only think of Krishna's pleasure, and all my activities are to please him. That's not easy because we've been focusing on our own pleasures for many lifetimes. Many lifetimes. So that's so sincere. Both of these things, they sound simple, serious and sincere, but the depth of them is almost inconceivable. We have to become more deeper in our understanding of these three words: serious and sincere. Another definition of sincere is anyavilashita sunyam dana karma navritam anukuyena krishnanu silanam bhaktirutamam, that we only do things favorable for bhakti, favorably to Krishna, without other desires. Mukti siddhikami sakala ashanta Krishna bhakti nishkam ata eva shanta. You know that verse? Right? You know that verse? Mukti siddhikami. One who had kami has desire for mukti siddhi, material sense enjoyment, mukti, liberation, impersonal liberation, yogic perfections, siddhi, sakala ashanta. All of them are ashanta, not peaceful. Sakala means all way. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, or the devotee who has no other material, Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, who has no other desires, Ata Eva Shanta, they're actually happy, they're actually peaceful. So sincerity means, desire to serve, desire to please Krishna, desire to please Krishna's devotees. So then the next question is, naturally, what brings out our sincerity? If it's there, we say Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Kavunoy Shavanadi Sudachite Korea Budoy, right? That Krishna Bhakti is there in the heart, and it just needs to be udoy, awakened, right? By sincere bhakti. So then the question is, if it's there, what brings it out? Of course, we could also ask the other question, what covers it over? We're talking about serious and sincere, these three words that Prabhupada would quote many times. So if you think of a time when you've been really sincere, really want to please Krishna, what happened just before that? Can you remember what happened just before that? Often it's because of association, right? In association, sadhu sangha, sarva shastra, hoy, lama mantra, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sarva shastra, lama mantra, sadhu, what's the next word? Sarva, I can't remember, my mind is, sadhu sangha, lama mantra, sadhu sangha. Sarva Siddhi Vajra. Yeah, all siddhis, perfections come. Mahat Sevam Dwara Mahurvuntes. By associating with devotees who are more sincere than us, it affects us. It affects us. One time I had the fortune for 4 days of just being with Radhanath Swami alone, just the two of us. And just watching how he performed bhakti was so inspiring. Another thing that brings out sincerity is when we feel Krishna's reciprocation. We do something and we feel that joy in our heart. We feel Krishna is there. We feel he's pleased. And it kind of is an upward spiral that we feel that reciprocation, and we want to become more sincere. We become more sincere. We feel more reciprocation, and it goes up like that. So that, and then also, as we've been talking in several programs, when we take shelter of Krishna in difficult times, yes, Yahaman Grinami Hari Sheta Krishna. That when some challenge comes in our life, and we show our sincerity by taking shelter of Krishna. So what do you think so far? Questions, comments, thoughts on serious and sincere?
Roji, one time we go to the summer camp, and then
summer camp?
Yes, summer camp, and we got in association with they talk like a sadhu song, but they don't have a sadhu, any sadhu, but only to one Grihastha, Mataji and Prabhuji. He give lecture. This is also sadhu song.
Yeah, of course. Sadhu doesn't depend on ashram. Definitely, yeah. Absolutely. Matajis can be sadhu sanghas, Prabhu, Grihastha, brahmacharis. It's not Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Sudra Kenyoye, Krishna Kata Veda, say Guru what? You know the verse? Kiba means whatever, whether Kiba Vipra, right, the Brahmin, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Sannyasi, Sudra, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Sudra Kenyoye, or Sudra, Ye Krishna Tattva Veda, one who knows Krishna's in truth, say Guru Vai. That's a word. So you can take instructions from anyone in any ashram.
Yes. Thank you.
We have in ISKCON we have gurus that are grihasthas. Purijan Prabhu is a grihastha, and many sannyasis take, even his godbrother sannyasis take instructions from him. Chaitanya Chandra Charan Prabhu, he has thousands and thousands of disciples in Russia. Mahatma Prabhu, so many, Ratu Prabhu. So it's not, and it's not even based on your birth, right? That's what we learned from Prahlad Maharaj. You're born in the worst family. The worst. You think you have a bad birth if you're born in Burma or something like or New York. Being born as Hiranyakshipu's son is like the worst. He's a great, great devotee. Suta Goswami was not born in a very high family. He speaks the Bhagavatam. Right? Prabhupada wasn't born in a Brahmin family. His father was a businessman. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other thoughts?
Hare Krishna.
How do you know like we are sincere? Sometimes we feel or think like we are sincere, but then
I think Krishna gives us the intelligence, to know that that we're really doing this, whatever we're doing it simply to please Krishna. Or when we do the same thing kind of mindlessly, like at 6 in the morning we can just go, offer the incense. And our mind is thinking about work today or whatever, or the weather, or or we're really saying, please Krishna, please accept this incense, please accept this flower. And it's so interesting because it's often simplicity. It's another interesting word. Simplicity of heart. One could be a big scholar, or cleaning the temple floor. But it's important to have simplicity of heart. And Prabhupada writes that's one thing, a lesson we learned from Prahlad Maharaj. He wasn't a big scholar, 5 years old, but he had such pure intention, such pure. So the mind is very complicated by nature, especially in Kali Yuga. So just the simplicity of the small things even. My dear Lord, here's a flower. My dear Lord, here's an offering that I cooked for you. My dear Lord, going to the temple to have your darshan to see Lord Jagannath. So just that keeping, because Kali Yuga tries to make things not. Kali Yuga kind of makes fun of sincerity. Oh, you're so naive. They kind of try to make you think you're naive if you're trying to be sincere. And that's not everyone is like that, but sometimes Ritviks are like that. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes they make we have bhakti to our guru. It's only Prabhupada, I'm not trying to criticize that, but I know some Ritviks aren't like that, but some are. So sincerity is not easy to get in Kali Yuga also. Just like Prabhuji, what's the name of the Prabhu we went on walk today? Srinivas.
Yes.
But he was talking about growing up in a village when he was young. There was no internet, there was no smartphone. And people just were happy with simple things. They'd come together and talk in the evening. They'd eat meals together. The children would play out in the fields. Simple. But now nobody wants simple. He said now that everyone has a phone, the children don't talk to each other, they don't play, they just are on their phone all the time. So, Kali Yuga makes sincerity sometimes a challenge. And so therefore, it's really nice to be around sincere devotees like the 4 of you here. I was telling David that because you notice he likes to chant always, when he's going here or there, it's Hare Krishna. So one time, Bhurijan Prabhu was flying from Hong Kong to Japan with Prabhupada. He's sitting next to Prabhupada. And he was told before he got on the flight, I told you this story.
Yes.
Prabhupada really likes it when you always chant. So the whole time, Purichandra was chanting every shloka he knew, every bhajan he knew. Even the person in the next seat said, "Stop that chanting." So he didn't stop it, he made it more quiet. Then the plane landed, and it was interesting. Prabhupada, when he would arrive, he had a little kit for tilak, and he put on a fresh tilak. And then as they were leaving, Pradumna Prabhu was sitting behind him, Prabhupada's Sanskrit scholar. And Prabhupada turned to Pradumna and said, "Purijan has this very good habit. He's always chanting." He said, "This is very good." And then he says, he told Pradumna, "You should also do this." So that's an act of sincerity. Just, Lord Chaitanya talks about even in our sleep we should chant, which of course is hard to do. While eating, a sincere understanding that, and whenever I'm chanting, I'm associating with Krishna directly. So that's one way to show we're sincere, is just to kirtaniya sadhana. As a matter of fact, as that comes up here, one point about sincerity is the Shikshastakam, and how Lord Chaitanya shows by example how to be sincere. This is from the last. Does anyone know the name of the last chapter in the Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Antalila.
Yeah, actually, the last chapter. It's called Shikshastakam. So this is from that. Lamentation and humility. Humility is also a sign of sincerity. Real humility, meaning I need Krishna's help. Humility doesn't mean, I'm so terrible, I'm useless. That's just mental platform. Humility means I don't have the strength to be Krishna conscious myself. I need Krishna's help. So lamentation and humility awoke within Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he began reciting another of his own verses, Shikshastakam. By hearing the meaning of that verse, one can forget all unhappiness and lamentation. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, in your holy name there is all good fortune for me. Prabhupada translated the Shikshastakam a little differently than in Anjalila than usually how we chant in the morning. In your holy name there is all good fortune for the living entity, and therefore you have many names, such as Krishna and Govinda, by which you expand yourself. You have invested all your potency in these names, and there's no hard and fast rules for remembering them, so that means you can chant them always. You don't have to be purified, you don't have to be taking a bath, you need to do puja, to do so many things, you need to, there's so many rules, right? But just like Oma Pavitra Pavitra Vasara Gashanda Papila Yasmaret Kundaritaksham Saya Yantara Suchini. That whether you're in an impure state or a pure state, you can always remember Krishna. So you know that story with Gopal Guru Goswami. He was a 5-year-old boy at the time, and Lord Chaitanya was holding his tongue, and he was very upset. And Gopal Guru said, "Why are you upset?" He said, "Well, I was, serving the call of nature, and I couldn't stop chanting, and so that's so offensive to be chanting while back." And Gopal Guru preached to Lord Chaitanya, "No, the holy name is always pure." And Lord Chaitanya embraced him and said, "Now, thank you so much." And he said, "Now," his name was Gopal, "so now you're my Guru, that's why I call you Gopal Guru." And his deities, Radhakanta, are there just as you walk in the Gambhira in Puri, on the left-hand side. Radhakanta. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, "O Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Roy, hear from me the symptoms of how one should chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to awaken very easily one's dormant love for Krishna." And we all know this verse, Srimati. "One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, but is always prepared to give all respects to others, can very easily always chant the holy names of the Lord." As Lord Chaitanya spoke in this way, his humility increased. So even more sincerity, more humility. And he began praying to Krishna to be able to discharge pure devotional service. O Lord of the universe, Nadanam Najanam Nasundari, I do not desire material wealth, materialistic followers, a beautiful wife, or fruitful activities described in flowery language. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotional service to you. In great humility, considering himself a conditioned soul of the material world, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again expressed his desire to be endowed with the service of the Lord. O my Lord, O Krishna, son of Maharajananda, I am your eternal servant, but because of my own fruitive acts, I have fallen into this horrible ocean of messiness. Now please be merciful, causelessly merciful to me. Consider me a particle of dust at your lotus feet. And I don't know if you know Ravinder Sukhpur. Have you heard of Ravinder Sukhpur? He's also a major guru in Islam and Grihastha. His wife just passed away 2 days ago, actually. Very big scholar. Prabhupada told him to go back to university to get his PhD. So he has this, you know the word vigilance? You have to always be careful, right? So he said eternal vigilance is the price to pay for Krishna consciousness, which is always being on guard to not take shelter of Maya. So this, the other side of here, AK, is really important. Lord Chaitanya appreciated this in Anupam and in Murari Gupta, right? They tried to become devotees of Radha and Krishna, but because they were so fixed in their service to Lord Ram, Anupam said, please be merciful and give me an order that life after life I can serve Lord Ram. So Krishna, Lord Chaitanya was very pleased with his one point of determination. Now, how does Krishna deal with devotees who are not so fixed? Okay? This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Glorious is that devotee who does not give up the shelter of his Lord, and glorious is that Lord who does not abandon his servant. If by chance a servant falls down and goes somewhere else, glorious is that master who captures him and brings him back by the hair. So Krishna doesn't forget us, even if we're not totally fixed. So, yeah, Krishna has different tests at different times in our life. There's so many tests of Sanatana Goswami. Right? He drank some bad water in Jharkhand, and then got pus coming out all over his body. Right? And Lord Chaitanya wanted to embrace him. He was so, oh my God, how can the pus from my body go on to the Lord? And Lord Chaitanya did it anyway. And then when he had a dilemma because he was called for lunch. Right? And so if you know Puri, so where he was staying with Haridas Thakur, where was the place he was staying? Paul? Siddhapur. Yeah. And the Gambhir is here, and to go by the road, you take some time. But a quick way is on the sand. Has anyone been in really hot weather with the sand? Has anyone experienced that? It's bahut garam. It's so hot. It's like walking on fire, because this was in the summer. But Sanatana Goswami, he took that path because he thought that if he by chance he touched one of the pujaris, he would commit a maha aparad. And Lord Chaitanya said, so how did you come here? And he said, he told the truth, I came by the sea. Lord Chaitanya said, how could you do that? Because he had big sores all over his feet from on that hot sand. But he did that, he took it as a test from Krishna because he said, I'm so low-born, I'm so contaminated. If by chance I touch one of the Brahmins in the crowded street, I'll commit a huge offense. So anyway, there's Lord Chaitanya often, in that chapter, tested Sanatana Goswami several times. So Krishna tests us also in small ways and in big ways. And our only hope is to pray to Him, and take shelter, and ask Him to give us strength. Any comments, questions?
So yesterday, Prabhu, I was listening to Gauranga Prabhuji, Radha Gopinath Temple.
Yeah.
So he was telling us like in a video, short video. So when you are in difficulty, so first thing happens if you are like a devotee, that people who are surrounding you will leave.
Will leave.
Yeah. And second thing will happen, someone you don't know, he will come and he will support. That will you consider as a Krishna's mercy.
Gotcha.
So is it true, Prabhuji? Means like when you are in difficulty, people leave rather than support people.
Well, I think he's not saying. He's not saying every single time that necessarily would happen. He's just making a general statement that sometimes people aren't very compassionate. That hopefully devotees, when you're in a difficult time, will come to you and say, "How can I serve? How can I help?" Right? I was on a call. I was giving a class on Zoom the other day, and one devotee from Delhi was saying that he was feeling depressed. So I didn't believe. I just said, I said, it's a group that meets every week, just only 7 of us, 8 of us. And I said, we're all here to serve people, we're all here to help. We need some help. So I don't think Gauranga was saying it all the time, but he said sometimes that's a material tendency, But hopefully as devotees, when somebody is helping, and we even see, I don't know if you see this, if you get these messages, but nowadays so many devotees are getting sick and things, and so sometimes they started GoFundMe page. You know GoFundMe? FUND, Fund. In other words, it's a place you can give donations so that they can get medical treatment. And some of them get, real good sums of money. So people do run towards it. But I understand Gauranga Prabhu's point, especially for materialistic people, they see you having trouble and they say, okay, and then maybe some more compassionate person will come. So it depends.
Yeah.
And then, I won't. I have to agree with Gauranga Prabhu's great stuff.
Yes.
Anything else?
Now, Prabhuji, you have given so many examples now of sincere devotee. So how we can have at least some kind of sincerity, like we are hearing you, but how we can develop within us?
Associated with Ramdas Prabhu.
Yeah.
He's very sincere.
Yeah.
And Devotees Prabhu. He's very advanced soul. He's Grihastha also. Those Gorni Thai deities, the festivals of his deities, beautiful. Beautiful deities. I had to take photos of such beautiful deities. So you associate, Prabhupada said, he was asked this question actually. Actually, your question was asked in Australia in 1974. How do you become sincere? And you know what Prabhupada's answer was? The first answer? He said, how do you become a drunkard? How do you become a drunkard? He said, you associate with drunkards. So he said, how do you become sincere? Then he pointed to the devotees in the audience and you associate with them. So that's actually the answer to you. I forgot about that when you first asked it, but now I just remember that story. And some of the devotees were like, they weren't feeling very sincere. That's all that's it. Associate with them. So association is just so important. Association is like a crystal. You know a crystal? And you put it on something blue and it looks blue. When something white, it looks white. When something brown, it looks brown. We're very affected by our association. So, association is a big one. And also associate by Gauranga Prabhu listening to his discussions, his classes. And you can associate also like listening to Prabhupada. Prabhupada's lectures are amazing. Have you ever heard his class? Do you speak Hindi?
Hindi, yes.
Yeah. Have you ever heard Prabhupada speaking in Hindi?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice class. I'm sure it's a very nice class.
Yeah.
Anyone here know Bengali?
No.
Because he also, obviously, his mother tongue is Bengali. He sometimes get that. Not so many Hindi, he mainly spoke in English, but. Is it a nice class in Hindi? Prabhupada's class in Hindi?
Yeah.
I heard only few classes in Hindi, purpose, but it's like, I think the other day someone was playing when you were playing that.
Yeah.
So it's a choice of what the language was pure. Hindi, many people speak in Bombay. Hindi is very different than the the north. I mean, those who speak pure kind of thing.
You could understand Prabhupada's Hindi?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this were very very proper. Words were all very proper.
Selective. He is selective in words.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prabhupada's English is also amazing. The Dami Budi Yogam Swam, Krishna gives you his devotee's intelligence. Prabhupada's English. When I was a new devotee, I had to look up, I had to have a dictionary. what does sublime mean? Or, all these words. ISKCON Desire Tree has all of Prabhupada's lectures in Hindi. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, if you could share the shlokas, maybe after whenever you get time, that we get whatever you just spoke.
What slokas? I don't remember which one that is.
You said it when the Shanta and Ashanta, the devotees are Shanta,
Yeah.
and the other families and.
Utti Mutti Siddhi
Yes,
Dani,
yes.
Sakala Ashanta. Oh, I'm not on mine. This person playing flute. They should come from Mangalati, they can play flute.
Actually, his mother, like Tulsi, yesterday I saw her, she praying Tulsi. She walked.
Yeah.
It's Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, 19:149. Chapter 19, verse 149. It's a very famous verse. Anything else? Yeah, that one's Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
So we take lunch today, or what do we do?
We will cook.
We will cook for you,
It
Prabhuji.
will take some time. Maybe.
No rush. It's only 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
What? 3 baje?
No,
When you
before
go
that,
out, Prabhuji?
before that.
4 baje. Oh, I thought you said.
8 is 8 baje. I mean, between 1 to 2. Maybe around
So
that.
let's say 2 o'clock,
Yes.
Yeah.
Two.
and make enough for everyone, not just me.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Thank you.
It's good to learn some shlokas. When I was a brahmachari, I learned so many shlokas. Now, Katam ho gaya. But also, it is. I think devotees tend to study verses less because they have computers and smartphones. Now you don't need to know the shloka; you just need to know how to find the shloka.
Yes, sir.
But there's 300-400 verses that Prabhupada quoted a lot.